I want to say hello to our listeners from around the world, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Soulivity Today, broadcasting live from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. We're so glad you're here. We have a fantastic show. Of course, my name is Brian Wesley Johnson. You know me. I'm the CEO and founder of Soulivity. But we have a couple of amazing co-hosts I want to introduce you to right now. My dear friends, Dr. Chanel DeGuzman and D'Angelo Thompson. How are you guys doing?
Good morning.
Incredible.
Good morning. Good morning to both of you. What has this week brought both of you so far? What has, Dr. Chanel, what have you been up to?
So, Brian, for the last 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, I actually took time off from the business to clear the house. So my son's open house is the 20th. And so I've got a lot of work to do. And so I had an angel come over, and who knows how to whip my house looks like, it's just incredible. I'm just in disbelief, quite honestly. I'm like, am I dreaming? The scent, the clearing. So I'm on a new level, Brian. I don't even know what's going to happen now. So watch out.
Well, do they travel? Because I would love for them to come here.
Exactly.
I mean,
but right now, I'll claim her for my angel, but.
There's something about that. I was thinking about that. This came into my meditation a couple of days ago around, I have not done, and we have not done like a energy clearing in our house in a very, very long time. Like, you sage your house and that kind of thing.
Right.
And, so that was another sign for me to do that. So thank you for that.
Oh, good.
Thank you for that. I'm going to take that as. D, we talked yesterday because we had, discussion for Wellness Wednesday. But what have you been up to since then?
Man, just same thing, just writing and preparing for my classes, which start on the 21st at Kent State. I teach fashion and media and also fashion study too. So focusing on my syllabi, just getting that together for the students so they'll have a lot of fun this semester. So that's it.
Wow. You're doing so much good. You're bringing so much good in this world, man. Thank you for doing that.
It comes back.
I know that
comes back.
I think so. I think so. And I think it shows who you are as well. So I'm going to take that as well today, like making sure that I'm bringing good in the world through what I do. Just reminding myself of that.
Yes.
Listen, we have, as I said before, we have a fantastic show for you guys today. But before we begin, I just want to remind our listeners that, listen, you're part of this conversation. Just post to our social media. We'll respond to that during the show or after the show. And let us know where you're listening from too, because we want to hear about, your adventures and that kind of thing in different countries. So let us know. So just wanted to say that. Listen, we are talking about lifelong learning today. But do you know what it is? Or if you have some idea, is your definition serving your passion or your purpose? Is it a tool that you're kind of using for a better life today? Well, listen, we are going to get answers to all these questions, if you have them, with our very, very special guest today. His name is JaMarr Johnson. I'm thinking, is he related to me? JaMarr Johnson is yeah, exactly. He's a transformational comedian and speaker of 26 years. After a 14-year military career, JaMarr returned to his roots of speaking, giving service to the community through nonprofit volunteering, fundraising, and entrepreneurship. He found his calling after an incredible stint as director of sales and marketing for a personal development company, ranking on Inc. in the top 550 fastest growing companies in 2015. JaMarr then decided to go out on his own and build a lifestyle business that promotes financial literacy, health and wellness, and super connecting. When he's not speaking and training at corporate events, he can be found expanding his creative artificial intelligence consultancy, emceeing, auctioneering, and performing at his comedy club in Austin, Texas, as well as creating digital education to reach the masses. Wow. So with that, man, JaMarr, I'm so happy to welcome you to Soulivity today, man. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. When I looked up your mission, I felt complete alignment and also felt fortunate that many, many years ago, I was able to meet one of your co-hosts on the set of a commercial, and we just connected, and we've stayed super connected for all of these years.
And my who would that be?
None other than the most incredible, wonderful D'Angelo.
Yeah.
D'Angelo's like, yes.
But you know what's interesting, JaMarr? You have a light, you have a spark about you, and I saw it that day on set, and I hope you know that. That's what I saw, and that's what drew me to you, and continues to keep both of us in our lives, you know?
I really appreciate that,
is
D'Angelo,
wonderful.
and I think
It's beautiful, man.
when we're coming out of difficult times in our lives, sometimes it's hard to realize the lighthouse that's within us. And so people
wow.
like you definitely have been a part of helping me to reclaim that power. And I didn't tell you this, D'Angelo, but many years later, I actually did a TED Talk that was about how mentors are like lighthouses in your life, where their job is not to drive the ship for you. It's just to illuminate the path. So D'Angelo, you were one of those lighthouses that helped illuminate the path for me. So I appreciate that.
Wow.
You know,
Thank you.
let's keep on this conversation right now, because I think that is part of what we're talking about today, right? Because of part of lifelong learning is understanding about the people and the resources and the things that are part of your life, and viewing them differently, where you can get empowered from them as well as stay in gratitude and empathy for those other people, right?
Absolutely.
You know?
Agree.
Yeah. When you think about people,
Yeah.
human beings we are the greatest resource to one another. When I was in the military, I remember at one point I heard this phrase used that kind of at first rubbed me the wrong way. But the military refers to all of its troops as human capital. And they invest a lot, because when you invest into human capital, you get a ROI that is greater than simply a 1 + 1 is 2. And in fact, one of my favorite artists who, from Queensbridge, New York City, where I'm from New York, my grandmother grew up in Queens, Nas, who's almost 50 years of hip hop. Nas is almost 50. He talked about in one of his last albums, King's Disease 3, that there's no such thing as recession proof, but what's best to do is invest in you. And what he's referring to is that idea of when you invest in learning for a lifetime, your value to your family, to your community, to the businesses you build becomes invaluable. And so that's one of the things. Investing in yourself allows you to then invest in people in your life.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Chanel, do you have a question?
Well, just also to keep on this thread too, I mean, lighthouse to me, it's almost for me synonymous with a powerhouse, but with light. So
Yes.
it's illuminating. And I know, I mean, I feel like I am a light, and I illuminate wherever I go 360 degrees around me. And so I also try to connect with others, so then our lights can be connected. And there's just like this huge energy, right? So I love that. That's confirmation for me in terms of my light. Well, let's take it at that foundational level for everyone. JaMarr, can you explain and go ahead and define what continuous lifelong learning is, and then maybe talk about its importance?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, absolutely. So life, right, has a lot of important aspects and pillars, mind you. I think of life in four major pillars, and they're all somewhat interconnected. But let's think about them, right? You have your family, friends, and community. So that's one pillar of life, the connection to others. You have your physical, mental, and spiritual health. That's another pillar. You have your financial health, and then you also have your educational pillar. If you think about all those pillars and how you build them up, what's the foundation of them, right? A lot of us think of like learning as we think of school, but what's your foundation in terms of what's your relationship to your ability to learn? Was
Mm-hmm.
it something that you felt excited about, or did you
Yeah.
begrudge waking up and going to school because of maybe that environment wasn't bringing out the best in you? I think it's really important to
Mhm.
think about how that family pillar impacts the rest of those pillars, because it not only gives you potentially bad habits and beliefs that don't serve you well, but it also, for me, like my mother, she was a single mother of four kids. My father, he was killed when I was about 9 years old. And because she didn't want me, she wanted us to break the cycle. She really emphasized that, JaMarr, I won't allow you to be less than I know you're capable of. And so
Wow.
the
Wow.
standard of excellence that I'm going to place on you, you might hate me
Mhm.
for it now, but uh, I'm not going to relinquish my responsibility to make sure that you know that the only way you're going to break this cycle in every facet of life is if I keep applying the pressure to you and keep helping you to understand the importance of not just formal education, but emotional intelligence,
Mhm.
financial
Mm.
Mhm.
intelligence, right? And then
Mhm.
Wow.
understanding that, JaMarr, while people might say harsh things to you, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words may never harm you unless you allow them to. Therefore,
Wow.
your response to people has to be with tactfulness, so that you're
Right.
not
Mhm.
amplifying things to a level that things become hostile. So I learned at a early age to raise my EQ, so that with my words of retaliation, I was actually bringing people together, and so I was able to create a safety net around myself by bringing people together. So I had to learn to get smart in all of those areas in order to survive the concrete jungle that I grew up in, which was New York City.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Listen,
Amazing.
we're going to take a quick break, JaMarr, because I want to learn more about, you know, this, how your mother gave you those tools, right? And how you decided to
Hmm.
use them, especially, I mean, you had a 14-year career in the military. I'm sure that those things came up for you as well.
Oh, I'm sure.
Um, y-
Absolutely.
you know, so want to talk a little bit about that, but we'll be back, everybody, in about 2 minutes with more from JaMarr John Johnson, and we're talking about lifelong learning today. We'll be right back. Soulivity Today is brought to you by Happy Travelers Tours and Old Vine Wine Tours. You can find all of the Satana products at our Go shop at go.soulivity.com.
Have you ever asked the question, If I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Hello, everyone. We're back with more of Soulivity Today with our very special guest today, JaMarr John Johnson. We are talking about lifelong learning. And JaMarr, you know, in the last segment, you were talking about the gifts that your mother gave you. That's such a wonderful thing, right? That your mother had the foresight to be able to, now, first of all, see you, right? See the potential and the talents and the ability that were within you, but then also know what you needed to cultivate that into a good life for yourself over time, right? She knew that you were going to have to learn some things, but to get through the challenges, the roadblocks, the obstacles, and that kind of thing. Tell me about some of how that use of those tools came up when you were in the military.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say the biggest thing that my mother gave me was a high EQ at a young age.
Wow.
Some of it was through some unfortunate circumstances. My mother is a recovering addict, but I'm proud to say she's going on 31 years clean this year of
Wow.
2023.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And so going through that recovery process, she really focused a lot on recovery for the entire family. She knew that damage had been done that we needed to learn how to deal with. So we did family therapy, we did individual therapy, we did group therapy as a whole. And then we just kept that kind of open dialogue and therapeutic mindset throughout the household. Now, with having that high IQ, the key to a high IQ is having a high awareness of yourself and how you are moving through the world, how you're impacting through the world. Are you moving through the world like a bull in a china shop, right? Or are you dancing like a ballerina with precision and grace? Now, one of the books my mother gave me early in my military career was one called The 4 Agreements. Now, it's funny, I had the
Hello.
book and I didn't read it and understand it fully right away, but to this day now, I understood how important it was. Those 4 agreements. The first one, being impeccable with your words. It's
Your
not
words,
just what
yes.
we say to other people. It's what we say to ourselves. What's our self-talk? What is the loop? Because you see, we can sometimes be our greatest enemy by what is running through our heads on a normal basis, right? What's your normal baseline of self-talk? All right. Do you believe what's possible? Do you believe you have the capacity to learn? And so because of what she instilled in me, I had this belief that I could learn anything and do anything that I put my mind to. And during my first ship, when I was in the Navy, for example, I was an officer. I had a lot of responsibility. I had to lead a division. I had to get my qualifications, and then I had to work and stand, shift, doing a shift at sea, essentially. So we were on 18-hour day schedules. So I had to operate on less sleep, perform enough to support my troops, but then also work on getting a qualification. And so I had to learn balance. I had to learn how to sacrifice doing things that I wanted to do that might have been fun in order to do the things that I knew would take me further in my career. But I would say that the EQ was able to help me learn how to really connect with others, which is kind of where super connecting really stems from. But really most important thing was being impeccable with my words, because words are so powerful. Even though, words can never harm you unless you allow them to, the words that we use with other people can harm them because they might not have built up that force field resiliency. And so I got to see resiliency happen in real time. And so that was the first one that was probably the most impactful. Then the next one was never taking things personal, right? There are times where you could become very sensitive to the world around you. And taking things personal means that you're always shifting everything to being self-centered instead of what's best for the group, right? Then after that, it's always thinking about, how can I have a bigger impact in the world around me? Because when you focus on outside of yourself, it's really hard to get depressed, because you're thinking about how to use your skills for your community, for your village, for your tribe, or in my case, for my sailors. So those were some of the things that really helped me to take the focus off of myself, because what happens is when you focus on the world around you, you uplift everybody around you. It makes your job actually easier when they're feeling supported. And then that made my time a lot simpler.
Wow. D'Angelo, do you have a question?
I have a statement and a question. Something just really jumped out. I remember doing a spiritual practice over a decade ago, and one of the teachers said, how do you get out of depression is about, like you said, JaMarr, is looking outside of yourself and getting busy, but also listening to yourself when you need to pause. So my question for you, because, I have a Black mom too, and she had demands.
Yes, they do.
And I know that many of her sayings and doings were very true. So how do you use that truth in all aspects of your life?
It's funny, one of my comedy brands is truth, love, and comedy. And I'm not going to tell you, which capacity, which amount are each of those ingredients, but truth is the most important thing, right? What is truly the objective truth? And I think, taking time to really sit down, and I like what you said earlier. I think it was pre-show, D'Angelo. You just talked about, journaling, writing things down. The reason why that's so important is because oftentimes, especially between thinking and speaking, a lot of information can come out, right? But when you sit down to write, you're confronted with those things on the page. And so as they're spilling out of you, you're taking time in that moment to really look at those things and ask yourself, is this really where I should be prioritizing my energy right now? And, after thinking about that, you're able to take a step back and say, what, some of this stuff I can just let go. Some of this stuff is just not a priority, and be present in the power of now. Many years ago, I was an ambassador for Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now. And that was a really amazing book for me, because what it taught me, here's what I gathered from it in a really summarized fashion, is that your presence in the present is the present. Or the gift. It's the greatest gift that you can give anyone, is your presence. So sometimes you need to give yourself that presence, but when you're in the company of others and you're really able to focus on them, what they feel is a level of energy and care that is not, they don't often feel in this world. So your presence, really giving your presence to someone. And I think, D'Angelo, that's probably one of your innate gifts. I think the time that we spent together on the set, and then years later when we connected at different periods of time, is that when you're with someone, you're really present with them, and that really makes them feel seen, and then is able to help them feel like they're in a safe enough space where they can be vulnerable about their challenges in life, because that's the only way you can get help, is by actually sharing that you have a challenge. And I think because I learned from that EQ sense from my mother early on is, ask for help when you need it, right? Support others when you can. You create that cycle. And from that is kind of the basis of how I live my life, which is OD4R. If I over deliver in value what I receive in price, the 4 byproducts, the 4 R's are: I get to remain authentic, I get to have real impact, I get to create raging fans, and then the most important are that a lot of people forget is that I must be ready to receive the abundance that will flow back in my direction because I started off the chain by over delivering.
Preach.
All right, I think we just went into church up in here. I think we just we just crossed over. Listen, we're gonna keep on crossing over. We're gonna keep this going, but we're gonna take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll have a question from Dr. Chanel and more with JaMarr John Johnson. Man, wonderful having you here, man. Absolutely wonderful.
My absolute pleasure.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame, living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us, a place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
And we're back with more of Soulivity Today with our very special guest, who's bringing the noise and the funk today and taking us to church, Mr. JaMarr John Johnson. Appreciate your brother being here.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure.
Start clapping and start. If I had a white handkerchief, I'd be waving it right now. Anyway, listen, Dr. Shin, I know you had a question for JaMarr.
Yes, so this is all great, JaMarr. You were just talking about the only way for you to get help is basically to open up yourself and become vulnerable. And I was sharing with you all before the show, yeah, I had an angel come, or I think I shared on the show too, I had an angel come over, but I had to open myself up and be vulnerable to let her see what was really happening in my house, right? So JaMarr, how do you approach challenges in your life? And maybe you could give us an example of something that you've overcome.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Chanel, I think challenges are a factor of everyone's life at every stage because, number one, they're all relative, right? Now, the challenges that I face today are very different from the ones when I did not have a support group. But the way we look at our lives, in my opinion, is to look at it like an organization. And you are at the center of your organization. But who makes up your board of directors? Who are the people that you trust because they have shown expertise and experience and balance in the areas of your life? In my life, I simplify it to those 4 pillars that I mentioned earlier. And everyone can choose to organize their life however they like, but you need to have people who can be the board of directors at the head of each one of those pillars in your life, however many you choose. So you have, that lifeline to call out to get advice on a regular basis to help guide you. And what that does is that helps you shape your decision-making, your processing. Another thing that I highly recommend that people do, this is something that I learned because I was diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety and depression from my military service, but also from my childhood. I had a really incredible psychologist who really dug deep and was able to help me uncover a lot of trauma that I didn't even know existed, because I had compartmentalized it in such a way that it was just packed deep down, and I was just like, nothing could hurt me, right? I had that mentality.
Right.
But I had someone who was a professional who helped me open up. And from there, I took the route, instead of taking the medication route, which might be needed for some. Like in the case of my mother, she did have a chemical imbalance. In my case, I felt like I could adjust it with nutrition, exercise, meditation, and cognitive behavioral therapy, which
Yes.
helped me
Yes.
to logically assess anything that impacts my life. I break it down, pros, cons, and then I talk through it. And because I have the ability to really be impeccable with my words to myself, I'm able to really resist some of the temptation to wallow in sorrow. But also, I use my lifelines each and every single day, even in days where I don't feel like I necessarily need it. I have a habit, I make it a practice of reaching out to my board of directors in my life, right? Some of them are friends, some of them are mentors, some of them are family, and talk through things, air things out, and then so that they can dry and not be soggy, wet messes in my mind that drive me crazy.
Man, JaMarr, when you talk about, I think all of us together are really kindred spirits. I think we've all had to go through things in our life to be able to now have those tools to be recognized when we have that soggy mess. We're carrying that around, right? Sometimes it's a small little, little bag of stuff. Sometimes it's huge luggage. But it doesn't make a difference. You're still carrying it. And so it's so important with the things that you're talking about, where we have a process to unpack all that and let it go, forgive ourselves, be aware of how we created it, and then do better, right? I'm sure you heard from your mama, when you know better, do better, and
Absolutely.
so, what you're talking about today is so vitally important for people to understand and know. And it's part of lifelong learning, right? Which is the whole point.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead,
absolutely, you guys. And just, you said, JaMarr, a soggy mess. So we know if we've got a soggy mess going around in our minds, we're not conducive and open and receptive to learning and new knowledge. Like cognitively, I don't think that's possible. I don't know if you want to speak on that, but yeah, that soggy mess can impede our learning.
Right. Go ahead, JaMarr. We got some.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because what it does, if you think about your mind, right, we are the ultimate supercomputers. We have approximately 90 billion neurons in our brains. So there are more connections possible in our brains than there are stars in the entirety of the universes combined. But mathematically, they've actually proven this. So we have more potential connections than stars in the universe. But when you have a soggy mess running through your mind, what it is you have a loop that really focuses all your energy on the wrong thing. And so your new neural connections, all they do is build more reinforcement around the thing that is troubling you, as opposed to being open to new ideas, new concepts. And then if you don't have the practice of trying to learn new things, along with having the soggy mess, which essentially you have a blockade against progress. And that's and that's why I think education is so important on many levels, right? Not just education on facts and science, but on emotional intelligence, on relationships, on finance, on all of those things, because a lot of people are walking through life very imbalanced. They know a lot about a little and not about the things. Essentially, they are majoring in the minors instead of majoring in the majors.
Wow.
Wow. Go ahead, D'Angelo.
I was thinking, what you and JaMarr, what you and Dr. Chanel teach, I think, and impart to people is vulnerability, teaching them vulnerability, number one. And number two, the tools to walk through life. And I think that is so important. So thank you both for being a vessel for those two
Thank you,
things.
D'Angelo.
My pleasure.
Wow.
For me, it's a matter of, it's what I call in life LDT: learn, do, and then teach forward. That is how
Wow.
you get to a mastery level, is by being
Wow.
willing to learn something enough that you're not only doing it, but you're teaching it to, right? They say each one teach one. This is important for us to create a more balanced society, is by not just holding on to all the wisdom and keeping it for ourselves. If we're imparting it
Right.
with others, we're helping them raise their level, their vibration, their economics, their impact, and we create synergy, right? And the definition of synergy is where you create more combined than the sum of the individual parts.
Right.
It just creates more
Absolutely.
harmony.
Thank you.
And being on a ship in the Navy, where you realize if we're not operating in harmony with one another, the threat of all of our lives are at stake. The ship could go down, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
And so it was
Right.
very
Right.
clear to me in working in that instance, it was a life or death. Whereas a lot of times people they grow up, they play sports, or they do some sort of organized thing that requires teamwork. So they learn those things, but the stakes sometimes aren't high enough for them to realize how impactful those lessons could be for the rest of their lives. Like learning how to
Absolutely.
play well with others is so important. But more importantly, the most important thing is how to play well with yourself, right? You still have to find joy in life. If everything feels like a struggle, you're going to burn out. So you have to have play in your life. You have to have balance in your life. You need to take yourself out on dates by yourself and just do things that you want to do, so that you can recharge yourself and feel energized to go out and be that powerhouse, to use Dr. Chanel's words, or that lighthouse, to use my words, and go out there.
Wow.
And what I think is, when you connect with other lighthouses, you create a chain of light that then helps people navigate all throughout the various places that they need to go in order to have a well-balanced, fulfilled life, right? Life has a lot of moving parts. If we tried to list them
Absolutely.
all down, we'd probably get 1,000 things individually between all of us. We all
Or
have different
more.
things different, or more, right? But
You
if we
know.
focus on majoring on the majors and not the minors, that's really one of the keys, is to understand what's really going to impact me today, versus all the little things that could kind of clog up your RAM and your supercomputer, which is your brain.
JaMarr, while we're talking about this, and while we have a few more minutes here with you, there are people who are beginning their journey, right? And that they can hear all the words that all four of us are talking about this morning, and they can intellectually understand them. But give me one or two things that you would suggest to that person who's starting their journey, or beginning, or maybe they've already started and they need a little help. What are a couple of things that you would suggest to them that they do to help them progress and empower them to take other steps after those first couple of steps that you're suggesting?
Sure. Well, I would say the first thing to do is start to think about how to build that board of directors. So go out and ask yourself, well, who are the mentors that I would like into my life? And when you're seeking a mentor, now a mentor is very different from a coach. A mentor is someone who is going to use some of their time, their spare time, willingly to invest that into you. But before they do that, they want to know that their investment isn't going to be wasted. So when you're thinking about getting a mentor, find someone who you think you could actually add some value to with the things that you're capable of, right? You want to create some sort of, it's not going to be an equal balance of what you're giving versus what they're giving, but think about how you can bring value to them, because what that's going to tell them is that you have a vested interest, and you're not so self-centered that all of the time you spend together is only going to be about you. So seek a mentor. Now, for me, when I was growing up, without a father, one of my mentors was one of my community center leaders. His name was Gary Duggan. And I saw him, really giving a lot to the community and a lot to 50, 60 different kids in the community. And I didn't want to simply be a burden. So whenever he was setting things up for events, I knew that if I went early and helped him set things up, that I would get extra time with him one-on-one to
Wow.
pick his brain, to ask him about things and ideas that I had. And actually, I first started working when I was 12 years old, packing groceries under the table in New York, over on 104th Street and 3rd Avenue. But when I was around 16, it was the relationship that I had with Gary that allowed me to use the community center's facilities to start my first artistic business, which was airbrushing T-shirts and hats, using all of their supplies, and charging people labor plus materials. So I had a really profitable business with no overhead, just artistic skill set, because of that relationship with Gary. So that's what I would say is seek out mentorship. Then I would say the next thing is, you have to build a base of knowledge that you can work from, and you get that through books. I think mentorship through books, because it's condensed knowledge that, many people have reviewed and have come to a consensus about. And so from an emotional standpoint, I would say reading Daniel Goleman's Emotional Intelligence is a good place to start.
Oh, wow.
And that will help you to start communicating with people. Then, of course, read The 4 Agreements. Another book that I would recommend is The Go-Giver. Another one that's a sleeper, but it was by Daniel Pink, who I got an opportunity to speak with last year at Creator Economy Expo. And that was such an honor. But To Sell is Human. Because what it did was it changed my understanding of what sales actually was. Most of us are always selling something. Ourselves, our ideas, right? Selling the idea of connecting. So D'Angelo, for example, probably sold you, Mr. Johnson, on having this Johnson come join you today because of the relationship and what he understood. So
it was easy.
You understand selling. Thank you. I appreciate that. But when you understand the skill, the art and the skill of sales at a deeper level, it gives you a lever that 98% of the population avoids, because they have a fear about it, because they have a misconception understanding about it. And what it does is it unlocks, because what most people don't realize is salespeople make up the majority of the higher levels of income in the world are made by people. So there's a bunch of people with educations, but the people who have sales training and go out there and execute at the highest of levels from an emotional intelligence standpoint, they are the ones who actually make the most money in this world, which means they have the most options.
Absolutely.
The most options to give, the most options to build. And a lot of them end up going and starting their own companies after a while, because they've amassed a level of skill that allows them to feel confident out on their own, which is why I have my own firm.
Wow. JaMarr, we got so much to talk about. Would you come back? Would you come back and talk to us some more?
I absolutely would.
Yeah, because I was just going to say, no, you coming back, but I'll be polite today. I get a little honorary sometimes.
He's being polite today, JaMarr.
Yeah, I'm
he
being
wasn't
polite.
like that earlier in the week.
See, I'm practicing what he's preaching. So, I'm building that board of directors and selling it a little bit more instead of demanding it. JaMarr, where can people learn more about you?
Well, the best place to go is my website, one of many, but IamJaMarr.com is my website. And, I've got a lot of all the things that I do there, from my consulting to my speaking, to my fundraising, to the things that I do from a digital education standpoint. I have a course on LinkedIn that's complimentary. If you are not signed up to LinkedIn Learning yet, you can check out one of my courses called Super Connecting. And it's trained almost 19,000 people now in the art and the science of professional networking. So Super Connecting, check that out. And there's going to be more coming in the realm of that. So a podcast, I've got a book about Super Connecting, and just helping people understand that your network is your net worth. So expand it in the right way, bring value in the right way. And to be a super connector, you really have to be a super learner. So I think that perfectly aligns with this, the topic for today, which is being a lifelong learner for every single day of your life.
Well, man, we appreciate you being here. Man, I cannot thank you enough for your words of wisdom. I know they're going to be powerful and helpful to a whole lot of people. So thanks again.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. And D'Angelo, thank you
Thank you, man.
for making it happen,
I think,
for connecting.
thank you. Thank you.
Oh, man. Listen, we're going to take another quick break and we'll be back with more of Soulivity today.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit soulivity.com now.
Wow, what a fantastic show today. JaMarr John Johnson is such a special person. But we got to turn, while we got some time here, to go on to our Soulivity shameless plugs with our host today. So much to talk about, y'all. Dr. Chanel, I'm going to go to you first because you have something that is ongoing that relates to everything that JaMarr was talking about today. And that is, building mentors and getting people and that having some people that you can talk with. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing right now?
Absolutely, Brian. Fantastic show with so much nuggets. So yes, regarding the free consultations, this is the time for you to give me a call so we can find out your vulnerabilities. Like, what are you stuffing down or getting a foggy mind that is preventing you from learning and expanding and stretching? Because this whole thing is all about self-awareness. And that is lifelong learning about ourselves as we continue to grow and stretch. So I would love to chat with you. Just give me a call and we will set up a tea chat together.
Oh, I like that. I might have to do that my doggone self. That sounds good to me. And D'Angelo, you have this great workshop that's coming up that I want to keep plugging it because I think it's fabulous.
Thank you. Just to piggyback off of JaMarr and Dr. Chanel, is that it's about the art of pivoting. Often we're told to do one thing in life, become a doctor, become a teacher, but it's really about pivoting, especially in the 21st century, and knowing when to and how to. So I hope you guys can join me.
And you have your My Favorite Things at your own shop, and that is so cute, by the way. I hope people go check it out.
Thank you. Shop My. Yeah, it's all my beauty favorites and some of my fashion favorites too. So check it out. shopmy.us//DT Beauty. Thank you, Brian.
On your social media, there is a product that you've been showing off. It's in a green bottle. What is that? I've been meaning to ask you that for a minute.
Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite skincare that I use personally and that I use on a lot of clients. It's Tata Harper skincare, and it's all plant-based skincare. So for daytime, nighttime, and it's changed my skin. I mean, this photo here is definitely retouched, but if you see me in person, my skin has a nice brilliance to it, and it's more even. So it's a great product I've come across.
Oh man! Well, listen. Thank you both for being here. You guys are always my go-tos when it comes to all these kind of subjects, and I appreciate the fact that you guys bring your brilliance and light to this show. So thank you for being here as well.
Thank
you, Brian.
Any special plans for the weekend for either one of you that's coming up? D'Angelo, any special plans that you got going on?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Hudson for the weekend. So just spending like a day trip. I'm in Hudson, New York, which I love. I love it up there. And who knows, I may get a house there eventually. But I really like the country. It centers me.
Wow, that's beautiful. What about you, Dr. Chanel? Any weekend plans, since I won't be talking to you?
Right. I'm going to continue the clearing journey even this afternoon through the weekend. So I'm excited to get just a leveled up house before Monday. Before I talk to you again, my house will be done.
It is
Wow.
so important. Having that clearing and getting stuff, out, especially for the energy, how you feel when you're in the house, that is kind of cleared out and that kind of thing is like a feeling next to none. We just have to plan to do it. We're both so busy.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, we go
Yes.
so busy. But anyway, thank you both for being here. Really appreciate both of you and your energy and your light and your love. So, listen, we want to remind everybody to follow us on social media. You can find us on all the major platforms and even the new platform at Threads. We're on Threads now. We've been posting, which I'm so happy about because there's a lot of people there that need to know what we're talking about. Also, please visit our Soulivity Today website at soulivity.com/Soulivity Today. You can find out more information about our show. You can also listen or watch all of our shows there, as well as find out more information about our partners, like our Old Vine Wine Tours and 80 Bites. That information is there, so go check out our website there for more information. Listen, ticking down to where we have to leave because parting with such sweet sorrow is always our moniker here when we end our shows. But listen, on behalf of all of us, we want to say thank you for joining us for another wonderful episode of Soulivity Today. We hope that you come back and join us every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, right here on Soulivity TV. Or you can also listen and watch at 8 a.m. Pacific time at KMET 1490 AM radio and .com. They also have an app that you can download where you can also watch and listen to us as well. We are here to empower you every day. So until next time, this is Brian Wesley Johnson wishing you a life full of passion and purpose, as well as, building and creating your best life today. So we'll see you next time, everybody. Bye for now.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.
Six years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.